Okay, welcome to phylum Chordata. So, within the phylum Chordata, a group you would also just call the chordates, there are 3 subphyla that we're going to explore. There is the subphylum Cephalochordata that are also known as the lancelets. So there's our phylum Cephalochordata. There is the subphylum Urochordata, also known as the tunicates. And the subphylum Vertebrata, also known as the vertebrates. That one's easy. The Cephalochordata and the Urochordata are all invertebrates, meaning they do not have vertebrae. No spinal column. Whereas, of course, not surprisingly, the subphylum Vertebrata are vertebrates. So, some chordates have a backbone, some chordates do not have a backbone. So that leads us to the question, what is a chordate? Well, a chordate shares 4 important characters. Some chordates will only possess these characters during certain parts of their embryonic development, but at some point in their life, they have all of these 4 characters. 1, a notochord. 2, a dorsal hollow nerve cord. 3, a muscular postanal tail. And 4, pharyngeal slits or clefts. So what are these things? Well, let's start by talking about this weird thing, the notochord, which we still have remnants of in our body as humans. Because we're chordates, of course, in case you didn't realize that. So what the notochord is, and we can see it right here, this is our notochord, is a longitudinal, flexible rod that is found between the digestive tract, which would be down here in this brown, and the nerve cord, which is up above it. This structure is made of large fluid-filled cells that is surrounded by a stiff fibrous tissue. So it's quite rigid, and so it can provide mechanical skeletal support along the whole length of the body. It also provides a nice firm structure against which muscles can work, for example, to swim. One thing that's kind of neat, in vertebrates like humans, in the vertebrates, jointed skeletal elements that form our spinal column develop around the notochord. And what we have left for a notochord, the remnants of the notochord, are the gelatinous kind of discs that we find between our vertebrae. That's kind of what we have left of our notochord. Okay, so next up, the dorsal hollow nerve cord. It's called this because it's dorsal, it's on the back or top side of the body, and it's hollow. It develops from ectoderm that kind of rolls into a tube. And its placement in the body, as well as its kind of developmental process, are unique to the chordates. So in the other clades, the other major clades we've examined, like the protostomes, they have lateral or ventral nerve cords. They don't have this dorsal nerve cord, so that's sort of special to the chordates. This dorsal hollow nerve cord is going to give rise to the central nervous system, which would include things like our brain and our spinal cord. So the pharyngeal gill slits. These are pouches that develop from the pharynx that is just posterior to the mouth. So this area right here. Most of these pouches are going to develop into slits that are going to open to the outside and will become gill slits. This will allow water to flow into the mouth without it having to continue through the rest of the digestive tract. So this is a major enhancement in terms of suspension feeding and respiration in aquatic environments. Now in tetrapods, like us, and I'll get to the group that I mean when I say tetrapods in a little while, but we're a tetrapod. And these don't become gill slits in us, right? We don't have gills, and lots of other animals don't have gills either. So what's going on there? Well, we do have these pharyngeal pouches in our early development, but for us, they become involved in the formation of inner ear and other structures of the head and the neck. So they do play a role, it's just they're going to look different in the adult organism than they do in early embryonic development. Okay, and so finally, the muscular post-anal tail, which just means it's got muscles, and it extends past the anus. Now, most non-chordates have a digestive tract that is going to extend the entire length of the body, right? So the digestive tract would end at the very end of the animal, but here in the chordates, we have this tail that extends past the ending of the digestive tract, which is the anus. So that's why we call it a post-anal tail. Now, this tail is greatly reduced in many species, including humans, during early embryonic development, so it's not apparent in the adult version, but it is part of the development. In organisms that have these as adults, they have both skeletal and muscular elements and can be a great aid in locomotion, so they're actually pretty important. So let's look at these chordate taxonomic breakdowns. So what's going to happen here is that we're going to be looking at kind of the whole phylogeny here as one large clade, of course, and then we'll be looking at several progressively less inclusive clades within the chordates. So if something is a chordate, it has all four characters that I just talked about. So it has the dorsal hollow nerve cord, the notochord, the pharyngeal gill slits, and the muscular post-anal tail. So within the chordates is a group called the vertebrates. And this smaller group, and we have them here, so we have the rising of vertebrae here. This smaller group is going to include organisms that have a skull and a backbone. A further subset of the vertebrates are a group known as the gnathostomes. So these are organisms that, in addition to having a skull and a backbone and all four of those chordate characters, also have jaws. So gnathostome means jaw mouth. Then, within the clade known as the gnathostomes is a smaller clade known as the tetrapods. The tetrapods are gnathostomes that have 4 limbs. So tetrapod, 4 pods or 4 limbs. And then within that clade known as the tetrapods is a group known as the amnioites. These are tetrapods with an egg that is adapted for terrestrial environments. And then we're going to look at several groups within the amnioites, including the mammals, which are amnioites that have hair and make milk. So basically we're going to start with a big we're going to start from working our way out in, kind of. We're going to start with those that have the 4 chordate characters, and then we're going to increasingly look at progressively less inclusive clades. Okay, so welcome back. Let's talk about the subphylum Cephalochordata, which actually means cord head, which comes from this appearance, I guess, of these little structures here. So these are also called the lancelets, and one thing that's sort of interesting about the lancelets is that the larvae and the adults possess all 4 of the chordate characters. You can observe them, and that's sort of unusual because oftentimes, although all the chordates would have them, at some point in their embryonic development, oftentimes by the time they hit adults, they're going to lose these characters. So this is an organism that as an adult pretty much buries itself backwards into the ocean floor and then just filter feeds by drawing seawater and whatever particles are in the seawater into its mouth and into this enlarged pharynx that we refer to as the pharyngeal basket, where the pharyngeal slits are. So it filter feeds in this way. These gill slits in the pharyngeal basket can also aid somewhat in respiration, but most of it is done over the entire external body surface of the organism. These lancelets are, I guess globally pretty rare, but can in some cases be very densely populated. For some reason in Tampa Bay they are particularly abundant. If you ever go there, maybe you'll get to see some, with about 5,000 individuals per meter squared. So if you go to Tampa Bay, you can go see a lancelet. So spring break destination. Subphylum Urochordata, the tunicates. So this name comes from a feature in the adults. So as adults, they have kind of this bag-like body that is enclosed in this tough layer that we call a tunic, hence the name tunicates. That's composed of proteins and polysaccharides. So it's acellular, kind of tough covering we call the tunic. So the tunicates have a very different larval stage than they do adult stage. So their larval stage is free living and possesses all and exhibits clearly all 4 chordate characters. But this larval stage might only last a few minutes. So this larvae is going to find its way to a suitable location, some substrate where it settles, and then will undergo a really quite radical metamorphosis where the notochord, the tail, and the nervous system, the dorsal hollow nerve cord, will be reabsorbed, and the organs are all going to rotate 90 degrees. So this pharynx with the slits is going to end up here, and our intestine ends up down here. And it's going to assume a sessile filter feeder lifestyle. So quite different. So this organism is going to circulate water via siphons. Just erase some of that. So we have usually an in-current siphon and an ex-current siphon. And water is going to flow through this portion that has the pharyngeal slit so the organism can filter feed in this way. So the adult loss of chordate characters that we see in tunicates appears to have happened after the tunicates diverged from the other chordates. And we even see when we look at the genetics that the tunicates have lost 4 of the 13 Hox genes, that's H-O-X, Hox genes, present in other chordates. So these Hox genes are genes that are sort of master control developmental genes. And if you lose a Hox gene, it can affect a number of developmental pathways. So the loss of some of these Hox genes probably explains why as an adult, we might lose some of these, or we might not see some of these characters. Okay, so that brings us to subphylum Vertebrata. So these are organisms. It is a chordate with a backbone. This is so exciting, we have backbones. So we're going to take a break. We're going to end this video here, and we're going to pick up on talking about stuff that guts backbones. So see you soon.